Good afternoon or good morning or even good evening to all of you joining us from a different part of the world. My name is Esme van Schuppen from AgriTerra, one of the agri-agencies that is a member of AgriCord, and I'm very delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, which is organized by the AgriCord Gender Working Group. This Gender Working Group brings together members from different agri-agencies to exchange knowledge, develop tools, and promote gender-transformative approaches in our work with farmer organizations. The gender vision that we're going to launch today was also developed through this collaboration. So today we're very proud to publicly launch AgriCord's Gender Vision for Equality in Agriculture and Forestry during this webinar. And this webinar is part of our contribution to the International Year of the Women Farmer, and takes place just ahead of the International Women's Rights Day, which takes place on March 8th. So this is really a strategic and important moment to move from commitment to implementation in all our organizations. So today's session is a bit of a celebration of this launch of this document, but also call to action. Today we'll hear inspiring examples, practical experiences, and also the shared vision of how gender transformative approaches can strengthen farmer organizations and create more inclusive agricultural sectors throughout the world. I see we have now 85 people joining. Welcome to you all. To get to know each other a little bit, please introduce yourself briefly in the chat. Who are you? Where are you joining from? And what is the organization that you're working for? That would be great if you can put it in the chat. Once again, my name is Esme. I'm from AgriTerra, and I'll be monitoring today's session, guiding also our speakers today, and I'll also keep track of the questions that come up during the session. Today, we're very happy to have a very rich lineup of speakers with us. We'll start today with the opening remarks by Susanne from the German Farmers Association, followed by two keynotes from Dr. Karen Monoko and Edgar Penyefield, and later here also some practical examples from North Macedonia, Chad, and Honduras. After each case and also after the keynote speakers, we'll have a very short Q&A. So you'll have several opportunities to engage also with the keynote speakers and the presenters from the case studies. Now, before we begin, some practicalities. We have interpretation available for this webinar in English, French, and Spanish. And you can select your preferred language using the interpretation icon. I think you can find it under More, and click on Interpretation, and then select your language. You can, if you have any questions, you can post them directly in the chat in any of the languages at any time during this webinar. Preferably, you already direct your question to the speaker you would like to respond. That will make it easier for us to direct the questions. We'll be following this chat and group some similar questions. We'll do our best to answer as many as possible, but please understand that we might not have time to answer all your questions, so we might make a selection. Lastly, on the practicalities, this session is being recorded, as you can see. This recording will also be put on YouTube afterwards, and a summary of this event will also be shared with you via email afterwards. With that, I'm very delighted to hand over to Susanne, the Vice President of the German Farmers Association and also a member of the AgriCord Board of Directors, for her opening remarks. So, Susanne, floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honor for me to welcome you today. My name is Susanne Schulze-Boccolo. I'm Vice President of the German Farmers Association. I'm a board member of AgriCord and a farmer myself. Within the German Farmers Association, I chair the Committee for Female Entrepreneurs, and supporting women farmers is an issue very close to my heart. And I'm sure, as farmers' organizations, we carry a particular responsibility. Gender equality is not an add-on, it is a foundation for building strong, democratic, and future-ready farmer organizations. Only when all farmers can participate equally, lead equally, and shape decisions equally can we represent our sector with strength and credibility. We are meeting today, as Esme said, at a meaningful moment. In just 3 days, we will celebrate the International Women's Day, and 2026 has been declared from the United Nations to the International Year of Women Farmers. This year shines a global spotlight on the crucial role women play in ensuring food security, strengthens the resilience of rural communities, and driving innovations and economic stability in agriculture. At the same time, in many parts of the world, we are witnessing political and financial setbacks when it comes to activities promoting gender equality. This makes it even more important that we do not only talk about equality, but actively promote concrete and transformative approaches. In May 2025, AgriCord adopted its vision for gender equality in agriculture and forestry. And this vision is more than a position paper. It is a strategic roadmap and a call to action. I love these words, call to action, because we have to come into action. It builds on years of collaboration within the AgriCord Gender Working Group and brings together the experiences of agri-agencies and their partner farmers organizations around the world. It reflects what works in practice, but also highlights where structural barriers will remain. And today, it's time to open the discussion to broader community of stakeholders, because gender transformation cannot happen in isolation. It requires partnership and support. The question why gender transformation approach is necessary. Women farmers are central to food security, climate resilience, and rural economies. More than 40% of the work in agriculture is done by women, but their contribution is often not seen and undervalued. Yet, despite their essential contributions, many women still face structural barriers, limited access to land and finance, inequalities in leaderships and decision-making, and social norms that restrict their full participation. These challenges are not individual problems, they are systemic ones. And as experience shows, that if power structures, social norms, and institutional frameworks remain unchanged, inequality continue to reduce themselves. And the gender transformation approach has to go one step further. It asks key questions. Who has access to land, to capital, to knowledge? Who makes decisions? Which norms shapes gender roles in rural communities? And this approach is not only about participation, it's about structural transformation. And the gender vision based on 5 interconnected pillars of transformation: education and capacity building, economic empowerment, strengthening farmers' organizations, access to rights, and transforming gender roles. And together, these pillars create a holistic framework that is both strategic and practical. Especially in the International Year of Women Farmers, our goal is not only to increase visibility, but to contribute a real and lasting change. My final thought: gender equality is not simply a cross-cutting issue. It is a requirement for sustainable development of food security and resilient agriculture systems. If we talk about transforming food systems, we must also talk about power, access, and participation. I think also responsible persons in AgriCord contributing the gender vision and presenting them today and draft for the discussion. Let us work together to make agriculture and women in agriculture future-proof, resilient and powerful. Let us develop a roadmap that will have an impact beyond the year of the farmers, of the women farmers. And I wish you an inspiring and fruitful discussion, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Suzanne, for your very interesting opening remarks, for setting the stage and reminding us of the importance of gender transformative approaches as a key driver, with a very good call to action to not only increase the visibility but also really contribute to a real change across the different pillars. So thank you for that. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Karen Minoko, a development economist specializing in agribusiness and inclusion of women and youth in Africa's agri-food system. She serves as executive support and partnerships expert at Africa Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, where she leads and advises policy and partnership processes to promote gender equality and entrepreneurship. She's also active in several other initiatives, including Kuza, I think, the South African Institute of International Affairs, Youth Innovation Labs, and she's also led research on women-led innovations. With that, Dr. Minoko, we're delighted to have you with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Esme. It's a pleasure to be here. And to my fellow speakers, colleagues, and esteemed partners, good afternoon. It is a great honor to give the keynote address at the launch of such a prestigious vision. And first, allow me to congratulate the AgriCord Alliance for developing such a timely and forward-looking AgriCord's gender vision for equality in agriculture and forestry. At a moment when the global community is recognizing the International Year of the Woman Farmer, this document, I believe, provides both inspiration and a practical framework for advancing gender equality across agri-food systems. And as we know, agriculture remains the backbone of livelihoods across much of the global south, and yet the systems that support agriculture, such as our policies, markets, credits, in some cases also land access, these systems have not always been designed with inclusion in mind. And these structural inequalities continue to shape who has access to land, access to finance, technologies, markets, decision-making spaces, and also the uptake of innovations at policy spaces. And these constraints disproportionately affect women, youth, and other marginalized groups. So when I looked at this AgriCord Gender Vision, rightly, I believe that it calls for a shift from simply integrating gender considerations into existing systems. And that shift is to move towards gender-transformative approaches that address the deeper power relations, social norms, and institutional structures that sustain inequality. And I believe this is the direction that we should all take, and it's very necessary and achievable, especially speaking from the perspective of agriculture policy and extension and advisory services. And also in my line of work, examining agricultural innovation systems across Africa, one consistent lesson emerges. And this lesson is that when agricultural services are designed without considering the realities of women farmers, even well-intentioned interventions fail. to reach a large share of their intended users. And this means that inclusive agricultural development requires more than just participation. It requires redesigning how agricultural knowledge systems function. And allow me to just highlight a few critical pathways through which we can support gender transformative agriculture in a practical manner. One, strengthening women's access to knowledge and innovation. This is very important, whereby interventions could combine technical knowledge, leadership training, and organizational strengthening that enables women not only to adopt technologies, but also to influence decisions within farm organizations, rural institutions, and at the policy level as well. Number two is supporting women's integration into higher value segments of agri-food value chain. Now, in many contexts, women are highly active in production, but remain underrepresented in processing, in marketing, and agribusiness leadership. And therefore, we need to move beyond just production-focused services or production-focused interventions, and also support women entrepreneurs, women's access to markets, access to finance, and increased business development. Generally, evidence shows that when women gain greater control over productive resources and income, the benefits extend beyond individual households to improve nutrition, education outcomes, and community resilience. In Africa, we have a saying that when you educate the girl child, you educate the whole village. And so in this case, when a woman is empowered and has access to resources, then the whole community benefits. Number three, transforming farmer organizations into inclusive innovation platform. And this change requires a deliberate policy incentives, institutional commitments, and accountability mechanisms that ensure women have equal opportunities to lead and shape organizational priorities. Number four, embedding intersectionality into policy, research, extension, and education systems. Women farmers are not a homogeneous group. I usually say this in my meetings, in spaces like this one. When you say women is not all women, is not a homogeneous group. The experiences are different. Different opportunities are shaped, by their socioeconomic status, geography, education, and age, and therefore our agri-food systems must adapt approaches that recognize these diverse realities and tailor services accordingly. Number five, engaging men and addressing social norms that influence agricultural decision-making. This is critical because agricultural transformation requires shifting the social norms that shape who controls land, who makes decisions, and who benefits from agricultural production. And engaging men as allies, as partners in this change helps to create more equitable household and community dynamics. Ultimately, achieving gender equality in agriculture is not about simply adding women to existing structures, but it's about rethinking how agricultural systems operate, from policies and institutions to markets and knowledge networks. So I believe this is where our collaboration is particularly important. For example, looking at the cases highlighted in the Gender Vision, the AgriCord's Gender Vision, from literacy initiatives in Chad to women-led enterprises and inclusive cooperatives across different regions, this demonstrates that gender transformation is already happening in practice. And these examples show that the right institutional support and enabling environments are in place. When they are in place, then women farmers have powerful innovators, become powerful innovators. And therefore, for us as researchers, practitioners, policymakers, it is our responsibility to ensure that these lessons don't just sit on the shelves as well-published papers, but they inform broader agricultural policies and investments. We must build agri-food systems that recognize women not only as beneficiaries, but as co-creators of knowledge, drivers of innovation, and leaders in agricultural transformation. So I'd like to conclude my remarks by mentioning that this commitment is not just for me to give a good speech, but It's already reflected in ongoing continental processes in Africa. As we're moving from vision to implementation, I would like to invite you to look out for the upcoming CADEP. CADEP is the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, the strategy for Africa. So we're going to be launching a CADEP Gender Community of Practice. And this platform will serve as an important space for knowledge sharing, peer learning, and collaboration around the implementation of the Kampala CADEP commitments, particularly in advancing gender equality and women's leadership across Africa's agri-food systems. So through this community of practice, we aim to connect policymakers, researchers, farm organizations, and development partners in a shared effort to translate commitments into action and strengthen the collective learning and accelerating progress towards inclusive agricultural transformation. Thank you very much for your time, colleagues, and for your dedicated efforts towards inclusive agri-food systems. And I wish you all the best in the launch of the Gender Vision for Equality in Agriculture and Forestry. Merci beaucoup. Shukran.
Thank you, Karen, for your powerful reflections. What stayed with me mostly was that it's to make a system, agricultural system, truly inclusive is quite difficult, but you gave us 5 critical pathways that will really help us to make this step towards that. And a lot is already in place, so it's a very hopeful picture where we can really use those pathways to start to accelerate that inclusive and transformative approaches for women. Thanks for that. With that, I would like to turn to the second keynote speaker, Edgar. He's a consultant and specialist in gender and masculinities. Edgar will guide us through how engaging men and transforming masculinities can support inclusive change within a rural context. Edgar, with this, I would like to give the floor to you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I would like to congratulate AgriCord for taking time to create those exchange and sharing spaces. This is a testimony of your commitment to a transformative, gender transformative approaches. We need to build new societies, and that's what you're committed to, and that's what I would like to congratulate you on. I'd like to share with you the knowledge I've gathered and the experience I've made as an activist in many organizations such as the Ecuador Network of Masculinities, and I'm also a reference speaker in this respect. I'd like to tell you some more about the part played by new masculinities, alternative masculinities, or salutary masculinities. Those are very important notions. I'd like to focus, to zoom in on a few notions so that I can make a true contribution to this conversation about gender transformative approach in agriculture. I think we need to follow a strategic pathway if we want to build fair, equitable systems where men and women alike are co-responsible for their actions and their efforts. I believe that it is essential that we take into account those various lines of reflections. It's important to bear in mind that we can have no sustainable agriculture without gender equality. It's simply not possible. There can be no equality and equal opportunities if we fail to change masculinities locally. Those are essential issues that we need to address. And those issues have a bearing on what's happening in the actual practice. Let me share three main ideas with you now. Even if youth and women play an essential role in the production of foodstuff and fresh produce, even if this is a fact, this is a hard fact, access to land, to credit, technical assistance, and decision making remains the prerogative of man. Over the past few years, strategies and approaches that promote gender transformative agriculture seek to include women in productive systems, which is all well and good. Those approaches and strategies also seek to break away from what has been done so far, because the impact is very broad indeed. It reaches as far as the social, cultural, and economic relationships. Those relationships that, to this day, have only kept on reproducing inequalities. We need to challenge ourselves and challenge our systems. Ask questions related to the gender that I mentioned. A gender transformative approach is totally relevant, not only in Latin America, but I think that this is valid throughout the world, because production systems are deeply enshrined in community structures. What do I have in mind? I have in mind the productive organization, the community-based food production. What do I have in mind? I have in mind the cultural identities and traditional gender roles. This should be borne in mind if we really want to bring about a change for good. Realities, facts do have a bearing on everybody, no exceptions made. And this we can see on location in the actual practice. We would like to change this power relationship. We need to take stock of all those factors. We are all aware that gender inequalities are a fact, are a hard fact for women, women in rural areas, lady farmers. And lady farmers bear the brunt of those inequalities. Consequently, we ought to fully embrace those gender transformative approach and try to promote those alternative masculinities so that we can transform from the inside existing structures that have been hampering women in their participation rights. Making men and women co-responsible in the production of food is something that we ought to promote. This would be essential in agriculture. And I would like to include here also this notion of shared responsibility between men and women in productive and reproductive work. In my view, it is capital that we should recognize the role played by women. Too often men decide, and this ought to change. We need to make sure that women should be listened to and their decision should be taken on board. Masculinities ought to be changed within the framework of such a gender transformative approach. And this can have a very visible impact on social, economic, and cultural relationships. We should not fail to understand all the historical factors that brought about those masculine inequalities. We need to understand what has been happening in rural areas because that's where men have the upper hand.
It is important to work on masculinities because according to studies, according to analyses that were conducted in the framework of this topic, men control production tools, they control the land, they control agricultural lands. And we know that it's essentially men who are in control. Water management associations, for instance, they are also controlled by men. This control might not be exclusive, but this is really a majority of the case. And I think that this is a negative approach, obviously. Then it is important to speak about the decision-making process. From the economic standpoint, we know that there again, men are in charge. Then how to define the management standards, the social standards within communities? I think that we need to be able to move away from the definition suggested by men. You have to take into account the land control, the possibility to make decisions. It is important for women to be able to make decisions. This is of a paramount importance. So I believe that we really need to work on those masculinities to make sure that there is less resistance to change. So I really would like us to have a debate on this point. I also see that in some territories, the machismo is promoted. I think that we really need to focus more on co-responsibility. I believe that everything that is impacting land is also impacting families, communities, and families as a whole. So it is important to focus on the community leadership. We need to raise awareness on all those issues. I think that we can also address other elements, the work overload, the access to resources, the work at home, but also working in the fields, looking after the children, looking after the elderly persons. It's extremely hard to find some alternatives when one is faced with such a huge work overload. There are habits as well, and while we need to take into account the realities, I think that we needed to make this work overload visible for men. Personally, I saw men crying. We can also see how the patriarchal structures are impacting not only women, but men as well. We know that men most of the time are the breadwinners. Men are there to protect their family, and this is a limiting vision. Now, obviously, there are strategies, we can use them to move ahead in the right direction. They must be strategies that help us. I know that there are transformative schools. Those schools try to act without harming, without without hurting anyone. This is extremely important. Before addressing and before talking about public education, entrepreneurship mindset, productivity, I mean, this is important to speak about that, but we really need to start from the realities and what women are faced with. It is also important to work with youngsters. Youth should be involved. It is important if we wanted to see a change in the generations. The impact could be huge on the communities. Decisions really needed to be fairer. They need to take into account the gender dimension. Now, the lessons learned. We know that community organization facilitates social change. Processes must be culturally relevant. It is also important to have a co-construction, a co-responsibility between men and women. And this is how we'll be able to have a beneficial situation, not only for men, but also for women. Youth participation is of the essence. Youth participation strengthens sustainability. This is something that we have seen in Latin America, and we have been able to develop participative methodologies. So, of course, we need to work on gender. We need to work on masculinities. This is a joint work. As Susan was saying at the start of this webinar, we need to focus on a horizontal strategy and a horizontal dimension. We need to strike a balance between the relations of power. This is extremely key. We do consider that there are symbols as well. For instance, the International Women's Day. Those are key dates. We also need to find benchmarks, key persons, persons who are really a source of inspiration, so that we can bring about this transformative approach. But of course, this is a work which requires a constant reflection. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the floor and for giving me the opportunity to take part in this webinar.
Thank you so much, Edgar, for your very thought-provoking insights. It was really clear that addressing masculinities is really a key thing to do and very critical in order to change these power dynamics and truly contribute to transformative practices within agriculture. Thanks for that. Also, reminder, if you have any questions for the keynote speakers or for any of the other presenters, please, you can put them in the chat with the name of the person that the question is directed to. With that, I would like to go to Astrid Vrees from Trias, who will now present the AgriCord Gender Vision, in which we have captured our shared ambitions across all the agri-agencies around gender transformative practices. Astrid, welcome, and please go ahead.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. I am going to present this document, the AgriCord's Vision. May I have the next slide, please? So we conducted a reflection. We wanted to have a report, a political document. We have been able to observe a wide range of experiences. So, of course, we conduct many activities. They might be different, but the commitment is the same. We want everyone to be involved, and we want to be able to see the fruits of our work. So, those are shared objectives. We have decided to include in the document several levels of ambition. First of all, an ambition that is really gender transformative, that goes beyond genders. This is extremely important. We really would like to be able to change the situation at its roots. If I can have the next slide, please. Or the previous one. The previous slide, if please. So, the objectives of this document. We wanted to promote a gender transformative approach in order to improve women's participation. But we are talking here about a true involvement and participation. It is important for the other marginalized groups to be able to participate. So we need to raise awareness. This is a call to action. Thanks to our work, we realized that, of course, you have men and women working on the field, and we need both to have a successful strategy. So we have this guiding document. So, of course, there is a theoretical part. We have analyzed 17 concrete cases. So 17 concrete cases in the document. May I have the next slide, please? Thank you. A first group, human developments. human development, capacity building of women. We will soon hear the experience from Chad, and this illustrates this point. Economic empowerment of women. It is important for women to be able to have the control over their finances. They must be able to make financial decisions. Then 2.3, how to strengthen farmers' organization. We need to have fairer farmers' organizations. The overall aim is to improve their involvement. Then you have 2.4, and this is the public side of things, access to rights within the communities, but also in the society by and large. It is extremely important to be able to defend their rights. And there again, we will have the opportunity to listen to a concrete case from Northern Macedonia. Then we will listen to a presentation from Honduras, how to strengthen farmers' organization. 2.5. We wanted to see this transformation. Edgar just talked about masculinities, intersectionality. This is also important. We have people with various identities, that they are unique. And then item 3, methodology, and 4, conclusion. Next slide. The content. So what do we mean by a gender transformative approach? Of course, a gender transformative approach goes beyond awareness. It is important to work from scratch, to start with the inequalities that we can observe in our societies. We need to be able to question the situations we see if we want to see a sustainable change. AgriCord is an alliance, and together with its members, we really want to promote sustainable development. We are committed to inclusive, fair, and sustainable agriculture through the gender mainstreaming and a gender transformative approach. Obviously, we support women's inclusion activities, but of course, they are part of a wider transformative strategy. So little by little, we should be able to achieve our aim. We share this peer-to-peer learning. It is very important to learn from one another, to exchange, to learn from the other's best practices. So this is extremely important. We really needed to improve the participation. So this is what we would like to achieve through this call to action. We need to see a global and collective effort. We should be able to share the same motivation. We want to be part of this systemic change. Next slide, methodology. So when it comes to the methodology, we have been thinking about the gender-based approaches. Within our working party in AgriCord, we wrote a checklist. This checklist includes key elements, key indicators. And Thanks to those indicators, we'll be able to measure what we are currently implementing. Each time we suggest a new activity, we can add new indicators. We have included the key tools from agri-agencies. Those additional resources are available in the database. So if you know of a good example, if you know about an innovation, well, you can put this information in the database. And I think that it's very useful for us to have the information coming from the field. Next slide, please. To conclude, so we are an alliance, we have members, and we would like to commit ourselves to improve the living conditions of women. We want to help them overcome structural hurdles. Our actions, our collaboration projects should really be in favor of a human development. Each and everyone should be considered as an actor with rights. We commit ourselves to supporting initiatives that target the improvement of women's empowerment. Women as persons, as human beings who have access to rights, able to defend their own strategy. So women should be able to play a key role at all levels. So in line with this strategy, we would like to work with our organizations. We really want to work on the basis of equity. This is important to embed equity into the core systems. And this is something that we would like to apply to ourselves as agri-agencies. It is important to be an actor of change. It is not only about looking at what's happening around us, but we should also analyze the way we work. So our agri-agencies should be more inclusive. And of course, we need to implement what we say, and we need to walk the talk in a way. So this is it for the presentation of this document, and I hope that this will be a source of inspiration for other organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Astrid, for presenting this clear and very inspiring vision. For now, we'll move to our first case study from North Macedonia. This case study is focusing on paid maternity leave for female farmers. Our speaker is Biljana Petrovska-Mitrevska, project manager at the National Federation of Farmers. She has a broad experience in coordinating rural development and agricultural policy projects with a focus on gender equality and empowering rural women. And she's also very much engaged in lobby and advocacy to strengthen the voices of small-scale farmers in decision-making. Biljana, with this, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Esme, and thank you for the good introduction for me. First of all, I would like to thank to everyone that you participate on this meeting, and it is, I can say, the first steps that is made in the world for International Year of Women Farmers. And it is very good and good analysis prepared that we hear in a previous presentation. I would like to thank in the name of National Federation of Farmers that you put our results as a case study of this analysis. So I will present the positive results that we achieved through the support of Sweden and Swedish Organization for Development VFECT about the maternity benefit for registered women farmers. You can go on the next slide. I will give a short brief information about the National Federation of Farmers. National Federation of Farmers is the organization that united individual small-scale farmers, men and female and youth also in this organization. We have over 3,500 members that are part of our organization and more than 10,000 farming households who are actively involved in our activities. With more than 15 years of experience, we are a national network. We are also social economical partner of the Ministry of Agriculture, Economy and Forestry in our country. And we implement around 147 activities per year, also involving education, lobby and advocacy, and information for our members. Our achievement and our main activities of the organization is lobby and advocacy. Gender equality, you can go on the next slide, is one of the 4 main pillars of our strategy. We put a lot of emphasis of the network of women farmers in 2011. Till then, we were in our network for women farmers, there was only 5 women, and now we are 247 active members, female members are part of our network for women farmers that are also part of the National Federation of Farmers, and they are actively involved in all activities when we are talking lobby and advocacy, when we are talking participation on the meetings with institutions, subsectors, groups in the Ministry of Agriculture. So we make a very good efforts just to involve them and just to make them as active members in our organization and also in the agriculture society. How we start with this problem that our farmers have, our female farmers have. Our journey began 14 years ago during a regular meeting that we have with the farmers. One woman came to our office while we were having a meeting, and she told us that she late because she have a lot of obligation with her baby. And we started a conversation with her about the maternity leave, and she told us that she didn't receive maternity leave. It was a surprise for me. I was also talking with other women farmers, asking them why if they receive a maternity leave, and they told me that they didn't receive. So we make one research small analysis that we saw that there is a serious legal gap. Women farmers have social protection in our country, but not right to sick leave or maternity leave. Only pay 20% of social security contribution, and according to the law of labor relation, they do not have an established employment relationship as a legal entity. That means that they are not formal employed. That is a very serious legal gap that institutions, when we talk about that, they didn't recognize this as a serious problem. Even in that period, in National Federation of Farmers, because in the management board there were much more men, they didn't also recognize like a problem. They were much more focused on the lobby and advocacy activities about the selling price, about the subsidies, about the rural program, and so on. So I only as a woman, I spoke with them and just explained that we should work much more on the social improvement status, to improve social status for the farmers, male or female, if we want to have economical development in rural areas and for small-scale farmers. So we decide to start these activities as our lobby and advocacy activities. And we start with, first of all, with strengthen the capacity of the network of women farmers. After that, we have elected a female president in our organization and just integrate gender equality into all levels of our organization. So we just start to work in our organization, and after that we start the process of lobby and advocacy with the institution. In 218, it is on the next slide, NFF, how we start the lobby and advocacy with the institution. NFF signed a declaration for improving the economical and social status of rural women with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy. And this is the first document that is signed in our country, where it is a document, the first official recognition of the challenges and problems that have rural women in our country. In 2018, also NFF prepared the report for the CEDAW committee. We also participate on CEDAW committee in Geneva, where we present the real challenges and problems, especially for the maternity leave that our women, registered female farmers, have in our country. And between 2019 2026, we held a numerous meeting with the institution, or with the institutions. We also have meetings with the Parliamentary Committee on Equal Opportunities. We raise public awareness about this injustice, and we make a lot of noise in the public. So after that, in 2026, there was established. Finally, we were listened by the institution from the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Labor and Social Policy. They decide together with us to establish a multi-institutional working group that will be facilitated by the National Federation of Farmers. And in this group participate from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Representative, from the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy, Public Revenue Offices, Health Insurance Fund, and Pension Fund. And we, after months of coordination and 8 official meetings, we reach a historical solution. So I can say that after 13 years and after 8 years of our lobby and advocacy activities that we made, the registered women farmers in North Macedonia finally gained access to maternity benefits through the new program for social security support for women in agriculture, and this program started to implement in 2023. Still, it is implementing. It is not a systematic solution. We are still working to find a systematic solution, incorporate in many laws in our country, but we make this result. I will give a brief information about the program. It is present in the next, it is that slide. The program supports registered women farmers who are not covered by formal employment contracts. It provides one-time financial support of 100,000 dinars. In euro, it is 1,620 euros, depending on their insurance status and agriculture income. This measure removed a long-standing discrimination against women farmers and create a new model of cooperation between farmers, non-governmental organizations, and also state institutions. I will give, on the next slide, it is present through the picture, step by steps, how we manage to make these results. And in the end of this slide, there is a picture, a woman with the baby. This is the first applicant that received financial support from this program. And you can see a lot of picture how we make these activities through these 8 years, just our women farmers to receive the maternity leave, which I said that it is not a still systematic solution, but we start to find a solution for this problem. So on the next slide, I would like to share the story of Lydia Bogdanovska, a woman farmer from the village of Chichevo, central part of Macedonia, who owns a 2-hectare vineyard. With the assistance of us, of National Federation of Farmers, in preparing her documentation, Lydia successfully applied for and received support through this program. So after we finalized this process, she told us this support is crucial for us registered women farmers who until now had no help during maternity leave. It allows us to spend precious time with our children while maintaining our livelihoods. Lydia's story is powerful for me reminder that advocacy and partnership can change lives, turning a policy idea into real and human rights impact. This program also has been positively evaluated. It is on the next slide. Positively evaluated in a EU progress report that is from 2024 and 2025 for North Macedonia, emphasizing the need to establish a systematic, long-term solution for maternity protection in agriculture. With support from VFECT, we also establish a regional platform for improving the economic and social status of rural women in the Western Balkans, which recognize this program as a model of good practice. And I can say that it has already inspired Serbia, Montenegro, and Kosovo to explore similar measure for their women farmers. At the end, I would like to say that these activities for us and for our country is more than policy measure. It is story of empowerment, persistence, and solidarity. We will continue our advocacy until maternity protection for women farmers becomes a permanent legal right in North Macedonia. And I can say for the end that every woman, every man that are working in agriculture sector and own land deserves security, dignity, and equality. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you so much, Biljana. It was really a very great and practical example, really showing how advocacy actually led to improved livelihoods for these women. I see some hand clapping. I didn't see any questions specifically for Biljana coming in. Is there anyone that would like to pose a question to Biljana on this specific case? If so, please, can you raise your hand or put a reaction or just open your mic? We have time for one question.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Please go ahead.
Well, I did listen with much attention the presentation by Biljana. It was inspiring, and I will take time to go through the slides and watch this presentation again when it's going to be broadcast. But I would like to congratulate you on such an experience. I come from Cameroon. And in Cameroon, we've always been wondering how we could improve the social status of women in rural areas, and more specifically their rights to relating to maternity, to sickness, but also relating to retirement. And what Biljana has just exposed gives me the opportunity to restart the debate in my own organizations at the level of the national consultation in Cameroon. We've already started a conversation at this level. So thank you very much to Biljana and to the organizers for sharing such an inspiring example. But I have a question. I've listened closely to your presentation. You mentioned two types of lady farmers, some with a contract and others without a contract. What do you mean exactly? Those lady farmers who have a contract, are they actually employed? Are they're the owner of their own holdings. What do you mean when you talk about those lady farmers with a contract? Thank you very much for your answer.
Yes, please.
Yes, I expect this question because I receive the same question when I make this presentation in other countries while we present this example. So in our country, I mean that in Europe it is the same. One farmers, they are registered like a company where they have a manager and where they have a employees, and they don't have a problem. In this case, these are small scale farmers that they are registered like they registered only in the registry of the Ministry of Agriculture and Water Economy, where they are owner by themselves, by their farms. They are not in the company, and they only pay 20% for social contributions and for the health contributions. They don't pay for the pensions. They don't pay for the health insurance, for the sick leave, for maternity leave, and that is the problem for them, that they didn't send too much money in the fund uh, for health insurance. So this is the real problem that they have, and that is the legal gap that we have in our laws, and that's how we find a solution just to make this program where our government from our state budget make this program with the financial support and give them as a maternity leave to these registered farmers that are not officially employed in the enterprise. And when we are talking about the enterprise, they are not having problems.
Thank you for your answer, Biljana. It was very insightful. And also for your question, Hortense, and your reflections on it. Very happy to hear it was insightful for you. As we're already a bit delayed in the schedule, I would like to move on to the next case. This will travel to Chad, where we'll hear about functional literacy initiative for women members of farmer organizations. With us are Yvonne, Justine, and Jas Ranjay. I hope I pronounced your name right. Yvonne is the former president and now the Secretary General of AgriCord, which translates to it will develop in the local language. She's also farmer and agricultural processor and represents AgriCord in several national farmer platforms and women organizations. Then we have Justine. She has coordinated AgriCord since 2015, now managing the organization's operations, projects, and women's networks. And then we have Jas Ranjay. He is an agricultural economist and technical coordinator for AFDI in Chad. And he's worked with AFDI since 2016 and also led the technical coordination of the ALFOP project between 2019 and 2023. Well, with that, I'm very happy to hand over to our speakers from Chad. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. We'd like to tell you some more about our project aiming at boosting functional literacy for women members of the Farmers Organization. It's co-funded by the organizations appearing on screen, including the AFD. This is a project that is piloted with Aster International. which is a gender expert platform. We also have the help from Litya, bringing us pedagogical and technical expertise when it comes to literacy education, CNCPRT. That's our national producers platform, which federates three separate farmers or organization at a provincial level. Yvonne and Justine are representing those organizations. What is the general background of this project? Well, here it is. Bear in mind that in Chad, the Human Development Index in 2021 put our country at seat 119th out of 191 countries in the ranking. So the last but one country on the list. The national literacy rate in Chad was 48% for men and 32% for women, generally speaking, whereas in rural areas, the literacy rate was 47% for men and 14% for women. While quoting those figures, I really wanted to highlight how stark inequalities were between men and women in our country, especially in rural areas. Illiterate women fail to be successful in their business, in their social participation, and those who are being trained do not have the capacity to pass on this knowledge to fellow women, to other women. In order to implement this project, the AFD opted for quite an innovative method. That's the Reflect method that combines literacy education with development. Thanks to this method, we united a literacy education effort to a whole variety of agricultural and technical training modules for small family holdings. And we also managed to include a gender-based approach. This project spent 4 years, represented as follows. You see the 4 separate years. During the first year, we dedicated much effort to devising a gender-sensitive diagnosis. This is an exercise we conducted at community level. We brought together women within groups, men within separate groups, but we also have mixed groups. This helped us identify key elements and key obstacles that could have an impact on the implementation of the project. But this also allowed us to identify topical needs regarding literacy education and gender-based education. The barriers that we highlighted in the project, we managed to turn into awareness-raising topics. Let me quote an example in this respect. During the diagnosis phase, we came to realize that some husbands in rural areas were reluctant to the idea that their women should benefit from literacy education, whereas themselves were illiterate. So they did not want their spouse to become literate. But we had to raise awareness in this respect. During the second year, we carried out a first cycle of literacy training and education. We also provided technical and agricultural training. During the second year, we implemented the AFF program, the Advice for Family Farms program. During the third year, we started the second cycle of literacy education. We kept on training for women intermediary farmers. We organized national workshops. We carried on the good awareness raising job. And during the last year, we kickstarted the third cycle of literacy education. We did some capitalization, policy advocacy work, and we strengthen technical training. This is a short background presentation before giving the floor to Justine, who's going to tell us some more the activities that we organized, and Yvonne will point out a few practical examples. Justine, over to you. Thank you so much. The first campaign, the first cycle of literacy education reached out to 2,716 people, and 2,657 women actually participated, actually enrolled. After this first cycle, we carried out an assessment. And during the third cycle, 1,661 people passed the assessment. And when it comes to certification, you need to know that 1,171 participants or trainees took the exam, and 1,033 of them passed the exam successfully. So got their validation, they got their certification. 858 women passed the AFF test, received their certification. We trained also intermediary farmers. We trained them in leadership, in community life. We trained 120 women farmers to those skills, and we revitalized the National Women's College as well. Next slide, please. Cross-cutting results. We could see that there was a change in the mindset of those who were trained. Husbands, stakeholders, men and women alike, inhabitants of the 24 literacy centers gave us a very positive feedback. 78% of the respondents to our Vox Pop said that they were pleased with the literacy education they were provided with. The change in the mindset, the change in the behavior. Well, it's true that at first men were very reluctant, and some women were reluctant to come on board as well, I must say. But as time went by, even men understood how important literacy was. You know, women, when they would leave to, the medical center or the clinic, with their training, with their literacy education, they could spot, they could read the signs, they could identify the labels and the medical products and the drugs for their children. I mean, it totally changed their life. Another example, in the communities, many women were drinking too much. But those who attended our literacy courses stopped drinking, and we have less women drinking at the pub now. There are less skirmishes. Women are more dedicated to their job, to their tasks. We came up with a tool to assess the number of hours spent by men and women to do the household tasks And we realized that with this literacy effort, we can cater for better balance in the time dedicated to household tasks. Many men were reluctant to sending or to letting their women to school because they thought that a literate wife would be stubborn, would listen less to their husbands. But at the end of this literacy education program, many men said, well, we were wrong in thinking that our wives would become stubborn and would no longer listen to us. No, 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 no. They still carry on at their task. They're good at their job, and our relationship has improved. Thank you. I'll leave it up to Yvonne to carry on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I would like to say that there is, of course, a work overload. Women have to work in the fields. They have to look after their family, their children. Women wake up at 5 a.m. So with this project, women had to go to school. And what do they do if, for instance, their child is ill? So it is important for them to be trained to know how to run a farm. Women have been able to change the way they organize their day. In some households, we saw that young boys did not work, but now with this new project, there is a better sharing out of the tasks. For instance, boys have to clean the house, so there's been a positive change. In the past, women couldn't go to school because their husband did not want them to go to school. But now, as well, this approach has changed. There is this new concept of a family-run farm. And now we know that women can make profits as well. They can go to the market, they can buy commodities. And men see also a change, and now men allow them to go to school to be trained. We see now that there is a high number of young girls who have become learners. So this project has been extremely positive. Young girls and women have been able to benefit from some training sessions. They have followed a training about women leaders and leadership. This project has really brought about a lot of opportunities for women. Now, obviously, there are still some problems, but I think that for the time being, the situation is really improving. We have observed a real positive change in those areas where literacy is promoted. We could really see a real change. Thank you very much.
Voilà, nous vous remercions pour votre aimable attention.
Thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for your very interesting insights, the three of you. I would like to, for now, keep the questions in the chat, so we'll be able to answer them after the next case presentation. So please, if something comes to mind, put it in the Q&A of the Zoom. With that, we would like to turn to the third case, which is a case story from Honduras, where we'll hear more about an integrated approach to sustainability within coffee production. Our speaker is Iris Lorena, a coffee producer from Copan. She manages her own coffee farm. This is a family venture she learned from her parents, producing certified coffee of different varieties. And she also works as a technician and coordinator of the AgriCord Gender Committee, where she actively encourages women and youth to engage in coffee farming. And her passion for coffee has really driven her to develop a deep expertise in this sector. Iris, with that, I would like to hand over to you.
So, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you very much indeed for this introduction. So, yes, indeed, this is really what my life is all about. I am a coffee producer, and I am the third generation of coffee producers. I have had the opportunity to develop as a woman, but also as a coffee technician within CAFESCOR. And I am managing the women's committee in CAFESCOR. So that's it for my short introduction. A couple of years ago, I started to work as a teacher, and I then stopped, and I decided to focus exclusively on coffee production. I have my own coffee production. The name of my farm is Las Marias. So Maria is actually the name of my mother and my grandmother. So hence the name of my farm. You have here some key figures of our production. I would like to speak about CAFESCOR, and I would like to share with you how CAFESCOR as an organization has been a leader and has been able to involve women. Women have really a role to play within CAFESCOR. I started to work in a CAFESCOR in 2012. I grew up in a way with them. I was able to understand the major challenges organizations were faced with. So at the start, the organization had 25 members. It was actually an alliance of two producers' families. We have seen an exponential growth from 2012 till 2020. There's been an increase in the number of members from 25 to 440. And of course, we were faced with huge challenges because we were not ready. We were not ready to host such a large number of members. Our services were not adapted, so we were not able to deal with such a growth. When it comes to the commercialization, there were here and there some initiatives, but they were not properly structured. So there were some initiatives, but we lacked the structure to achieve our aim, and women did not participate. There was no place whatsoever for women. We didn't have youngsters with us either. So at that time, CafeScore was a coffee producing company without any presence of women, and they were not youngsters either. So women were really absent from this organization. And we have been able to transform year after year. We have been able to embrace this transformation process. We got in touch with TRIAS and with FFD. So actually, we met them at the time when we needed them the most. We needed some support and we wanted to become more stable on the coffee market. So obviously, we see that together with Trias, we have been able to transform. We first conducted an analysis of our organization and our capacities. We were able to pinpoint our weaknesses so that we could work on them. Then there's been an awareness raising campaign. We informed the managers, we informed producers, so that all together we could face those challenges. This is also when we set up commissions, political documents, so a real bedrock there that allowed us to build our organization. So we do have dedicated departments and dedicated services for the youth, for women. Our organization is now extremely attractive. We have this image of being a safe company as well. We follow a kind of roadmap. So we have been able to have an integrated organizational development. So in 2023, we were able to observe the results and the outcome of this transformation process. Then after that, we had tangible results. We had women in our board. So women as president, a woman as a vice president. So we saw a huge difference between 2012 and 2025. So a lot of progress has been made. We had more than 600 members, 135 women, 160 younger people. So attractive results, very promising, a very promising situation, tangible results, thanks to the transformation of our structure. Women produce 15.7 million in revenue thanks to coffee. So we see that now there is a real empowerment of women. Their work is really valued. If we compare with the previous years, there is a bigger visibility now, and we see that the coffee production results are better as well. Women can take care of the harvest of the coffee beans. They can sell it directly. So all in all, I think that more value is now given to women. And so they are much more involved, not only women, but also the youth. We have been awarded as well at the international level. We have received international awards. We do follow a social and environmental approach. And so this is also the second strand that we would like to develop from now. We would like to focus on the social and environmental dimension. We need a sustainable pattern. Since or between 2012 and 2025, the results have been extremely positive. At the start, of course, the situation was dire. It was very hard. So we went through this transformative process, and now we can really see a positive outcome. So you have here some pictures, a route to organizational development. Training sessions are organized. Awareness raising events are organized. We want to improve our visibility. You can also see some pictures of our gender committees. We see that we are able to strengthen our structures. We can strengthen also the capacities of our staff. We have more members, more staff members. And so now we are ready to welcome new members. We are ready to grow and we are ready to be stronger. I also would like to add that each committee has a key role to play. In a way, they work as our pillars. It is actually the AgriCord business card. We have specialized services, and you can see some pictures there on the screen. Services for women, women leadership schools. There again, women can really develop there and learn. We know that rural women are struggling and they do not always have a say. So we wanted to create a safe space in which they can really have a say and they can speak out. Pilot companies as well. Women can have their own company and they can be in touch with direct buyers. So they can really put the coffee production on the market. And those women have received some awards and recognition. And so this is extremely important because actually these women are now the breadwinners. So from a financial standpoint, this is important, but their self-esteem is also improved. They are much more resilient. They are ready to face climate change as well. In the past, women were extremely worried about climate change and natural disasters, but now they have the knowledge and they are able to adapt their plot so that it can resist better the climate change and the natural disasters. So it's extremely positive. Of course, we are not forgetting about men. We are not leaving the men aside, absolutely not, because we know that men also have a role to play in coffee production. Before, men had the land, the power, the control. They would do everything in a family-run farm. And nowadays, we see that it's a teamwork. It's a real teamwork. Men and women together. They have the same roles to play. It's the same value. They are on an equal footing. And so their work is really valued. So we have tried also to work with the School of Masculinities. We try to train those teams so that they can work. We have involved all the family members. It is important for all of them to be able to work in the coffee production. The husband, the wife, the children, and for those single men, well, the youth can help. And sometimes we have a coffee production with only two women as leaders. They are extremely courageous and they manage everything. It's not easy to manage a company, obviously, but they can do it. Of course, women have a different leadership style. They have more passion. Maybe they show more love. We know how important coffee production is for the economy of our region. We grew up with a cafe score, so we are trying to transmit these values to our children. The integrated services of Cafe Score. So we have services for the youth. We have schools where they can learn what quality control is. We also have holiday schools. So this is a service that we are providing during the harvest time so that women can be in the field and they can harvest the coffee beans, and they are not worried because they know that their children are taken care of. So we organize those camps, in a way, those children camps. A library is available as well. Children can play, but they can also have some discussions. Children learn more about coffee production and life in the countryside. So this is really nice because those children are really looked after while women are working in the fields. Now, on the screen, some more pictures about the sustainability projects of Cafe Score. You have there several departments because, of course, we have to comply with the European legislation. On the screen, you have here some pictures of our plots. The coffee, of course, is harvested in areas where there is no deforestation. This is a coffee that is recognized for that, and our sustainability projects have been recognized. For instance, we comply with the EU legislation of due diligence. So this is a label that is visible on all our products. The members of our association go to fairs, exhibitions in Europe, in Latin America, in the United States. We try to send women as well so that they can really tell about their own experience in the first person. Talking about sustainability, in CAFESCORE, as I was telling you, we do have integrated services for all our members. And we saw a huge difference between 2012 and now. We have a better structure. We see that there are more cultural changes as well. There is a real leadership culture, a real management culture. And so we are very proud of that. So this is what I had to share with you about Cafe Score. I hope that this was clear. And so this was the example of a Cafe Score. So I wanted to tell you about the situation back in 2012. How we were able to find persons to help us. They helped us improve our organization. And now we have a proper structure. Of course, this is a long road. We were able to be assisted by AgriCord and its members. And as a woman, I feel proud now. I feel proud because I have had this opportunity to work, to be a real producer. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Iris, for your closing presentation. A very inspiring one, and I think you can be very proud indeed. I think your story really shows how this integrated approach does not only promote inclusivity, gender equality socially, but also open up financial and business activities for women, as well as increase their decision-making power and also strengthen the organization as a whole. So it's really inspiring. With that, as we're quite short on time, I would like to go to the questions. So I'll start with the one question that came up with regards to the story from chat. And the question is, has the redistribution of work in the households been due solely to the work on literacy, or was it accomplished or accompanied by other interventions such as awareness or sensitization at the household level? So maybe the presenters from the chat case can answer this very briefly.
So, of course, at the beginning, it was not easy, but thanks to the ALFOP project and thanks to the training sessions and the awareness raising work, the organizations were able to understand how important it is to share out the tasks within the households. And so we were able to present a kind of a time frame, the time needed to perform the tasks. And so this is how people were able to see that there was a huge work overload for women and that it was important to give them some more time to go to school, to attend the training sessions so that they could learn more. And it was really for the good of the families. There are many examples, thanks to this awareness raising, men in a way opened their eyes, and some of them now have become moderators, facilitators in the literacy centers. I do not know whether you would like to add anything. And this has had an impact on younger boys as well. Young boys started to perform female tasks so that the little girls could have the time to go to school. Well, before that, of course, young boys would simply play and having fun while the young girls were working in the household. So now we really see that women are learners, and men now are also taking up those tasks so that it allows women to follow the training sessions. So this is a very positive development.
Thank you so much for your response. This was really well encompassing. For the sake of time, I would like to move to Jenny Oman, who is the chair of the gender working group of AgriCord, for the closing remarks, so that we may still close this webinar well on time. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Esme. Yes, so thank you everyone for joining today's discussion on the gender transformative agriculture in practice. I think it has been truly inspiring to hear the different perspectives from our experts and our partners across regions on this important topic. And also a special thanks to all our speakers and to everyone behind the scenes for making this webinar run smoothly. So today's session marks an important moment. We are not only discussing gender transformation, we are actively putting the newly launched Gender Vision by AgriCord into practice. So the vision offers a strategic and transformative roadmap for the agri-agencies and farmers' organizations, going well beyond gender mainstreaming to address the structural barriers, unequal power dynamics, and restrictive norms that limit women's opportunities and leadership. And we are reminded today that women are central to global food systems, and yet their contributions remain undervalued. This gender vision makes it clear that the gender equality is not optional. This we have heard also from many of our speakers today. It is very fundamental for resilience, for productivity and justice within the agriculture and rural communities. And this is also why our collective commitment to transformative change is so important, especially at a time when gender equality efforts face setbacks globally. And launching this vision now, at this time, during this International Year of Women Farmers, and right before the International Women's Day, that has the theme of rights, justice, and action for all, it sends a strong signal of renewed commitment, and also, as Susanne said in the beginning, a call to action. So what we've seen today has shown that small and practical steps can lead to meaningful change. Throughout the session, several key messages stood out as transformation requires systemic change, and the 5 pillars of this gender vision: capacity building, economic empowerment, stronger farmers' organizations, access to rights, and engaging everyone, including men, remind us that deep, lasting change must be multi-layered. Change is already happening, from securing paid maternity leave for women farmers in the North Macedonia to functional literacy programs in Chad and gender-responsive approaches in the coffee sector in Honduras. Today's examples clearly illustrate how policy change, skills building, and community dialogue can shift the norms and create long-lasting impact. Engaging men and shifting masculinities is essential. Gender transformation isn't only about supporting women, it requires also involved men, challenging harmful norms and reshaping power relations so that change is shared and sustained. And as one of our keynote speakers said, Edgar, he pointed out that we need to change the power relations and not only including the women. So across these examples, one message came through clearly, and that's that this work advances only through collaboration. So farmers' organizations, agri-agencies, local governments, researchers and donors, and communities each play a critical role. The gender vision itself is the product of years of shared learning within the AgriCord Alliance, and today's webinar reflected that same spirit of collective commitment. And this webinar today demonstrated exactly this spirit: shared responsibility, shared learning, and shared commitment. And as we now close, let me leave you with 3 very short reflections. First, put your words into action. So transformation happens when principles become part of your daily work in projects and training, advocacy, organizational change, and farmer-to-farmer learning. Second, lift and scale what you know works. So today's cases show that change is possible, and our task is now to help these approaches grow and influence systems far beyond their original contexts. And thirdly, keep the momentum alive. The gender vision is a call to action. It guides us, but it is up to all of us to turn it into real outcomes for women, men, and young people in agriculture and forestry. So thank you once again for your time, for your engagement, and your commitment to gender transformative change. Let's continue working together. learning from one another, and supporting farmer organizations as they lead the way toward a more just, inclusive, and resilient future. So this is only the beginning. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Wishing you a great evening or rest of the day.